Namaskar, welcome to the Nationalist View, and I'm your host Arun Anand. And today we have with us a very special guest, Dr. Ruchi Wali. Ruchi ji, thank you so much for joining the show. Ruchi
How are
ji,
you?
yeah, let me give you
Sorry.
a brief introduction of Ruchi Wali ji. She is a Canada-based management consultant, public policy advocate, and community leader with more than 2 decades of international professional experience. But more importantly, she has been an active voice on issues relating to religious freedom, multiculturalism, civic participation, India-Canada relationship, and last but not the least, the Khalistani movement or the Khalistani extremist movement. So, Ruchi ji, welcome to the Nationalist View, and it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Arunji.
So, I'll just set the context for this discussion, and then we'll move on to the questions. So, we have seen that in recent years, Canada has found itself at the center of intense debates surrounding Khalistani extremism, diaspora politics, freedom of expression, and the future of India-Canada relationships. So at the same time, films, documentaries, and digital media instruments have increasingly become powerful in shaping the public perceptions and historical memory, and that brings to us to the issue of the recently, released movie Sutlej, which has generated significant discussion for its portrayal of Punjab's turbulent years. So, and Canada, from where Ruchiji is joining us, so it has been a hub of Khalistani extremist movement for quite a number of years. And also, because this movie must have generated a lot of discussion there also, and the Sikh diaspora there. So it has been interpreted in different ways uh, by media of different countries. So Ruchi ji, let me begin with the film Satluj first. So while many have praised it for bringing the story of Jaswant Singh Khalra uh, to the screen, who according to the movie is a human rights activist, and critiques have argued that it presents only one dimension of Punjab's troubled past, overlooking the thousands of innocent Hindus, moderate Sikhs, journalists, and security personnel who lost their lives to Khalistani terrorism. So, is that criticism fair? And more broadly, where do you draw the line between storytelling, historical interpretation, and propaganda?
Great question, Arunji. So let's talk about some facts. So Jaswant Singh Kalra, he proclaimed as a human right activist, and he collected data for all the unidentified bodies from I think early 90s to 1995, and he focused on only three municipalities, which was Tarantaran, Amritsar, and Manja. And what he did was, I think he got some around the data that he collected from there was around some 2500 or something, and he extrapolated all that data to the rest of the Punjab without actually collecting the numbers. That was the first problem with his math or his statistics. And the second problem was that he looked at all the unidentified bodies. So that was the second problem, and that is how he arrived to that number of 2500. And even if you look at like average data in India, for example, of sorry, the final number that he arrived was 25,000. So his claim was that between like I think early 90 to 1995, there were 25,000 people who were killed by the Punjab police in extrajudicial killing. So that is what he was projecting. And like I said, his math and his statistics were both wrong. And if you even have to compare that with like average data, for example, if I look at average data that comes out of India of unidentified dead bodies across the country, it ranges somewhere around 37,000 to 40,000. So what he's saying, like per year, but what he's saying that that the data that came out from Punjab, just a small state of Punjab compared to the rest of the India, is 25,000. So that is the problem. And he was kidnapped, I think, after the assassination of Beant Singh in 1995. And before that, he was roaming freely. He was not stopped. He even came to Canada for I think he came I know he came to Canada twice here. So it's not like he's presenting a one side story, and yes, it is a film, and yes, there is freedom of speech, but you also have to look at the consequences and the audience, especially for the audience that they are catering to, and how, and we also know how, the Khalistani people, they use this propaganda, and it slowly, they say it so many times at so many different levels in so many different ways, it becomes a truth. And I'll give you two examples. The first example is the word Sikh genocide. What happened in 1984 is really bad. It should not have happened to Sikhs in Delhi. Like, my family comes from the same background, so I understand it should have never happened. But it was not a genocide. You can call it Sikh rights, you can call it Sikh program, and it was not like, it was not, people were not killing. It was a state executed operation, and we all know that. But the Sikh genocide, I think the word was first quoted by Rajnath Singh ji, and which was not right actually. And then Khalistani just took that and they flew with it. In Canada, there have been motions that were passed in 2017, although I think they were not able to recognize it. Later, there was a bill to make that number, sorry, to make that claim that it was a Sikh genocide. And the number, I think the official number is somewhere around 2700, but if you do like a Google search, you will see the numbers that they quote today is 30,000. So they jumped the numbers to 10% almost. And even in case of Khalra, you can see he has made the numbers almost 10%, right?
10
10,
times,
oh, sorry, 100%.
100%. Yeah.
100%. 100%, sorry, yes,
Mhm.
he jumped it to like 100%. And that is what they do. That is the problem. Yes, it's a film, and they have their rights, and because it was released on OTT, they have apparently more freedom. But you have to look at the consequences. You have to look at the broader responsibility that you have when you're making such a film. You cannot just look at one side of the story and just completely ignore, because he did not look at what Khalistanis were doing. I mean, Khalistanis, they are responsible for almost killing more than 22,000 people in Punjab, which is like over the period of 12 years when I think the insurgency was at peak. It's like almost more than five people dying every day in a small state of Punjab, which is like a big number. So you have to look at that and take that responsibility. And that is how the Khalistanis, they take this and they fly with it. And multiple motions or bills have been passed in the US as well, and claiming it as a Sikh genocide, which is not right. And we have example, I'll give you another example, which is from Canada. Air India bombing. We have I mean, everybody knows that Air India bombing was executed, planned by Canadian, and it killed most of the people on the plane were Canadian. 268 people died on Air India 182, they were Canadians. And we have our leaders, for example, Jagmeet Singh was and if you look, you can find that clip very easily. I think I might have also shared it on my social media. And Terry Molesky, who's like a very veteran journalist, who was, I mean, he's veteran, but who was a journalist with CBC. And he asked him, like, who did the bombing? And he's like, I don't know. So that is what happens when you say it so many times. A lie becomes a truth. And we know that we see posters of Talvinder Singh Parmar getting paraded in Canada from Brampton to Surrey and everywhere else in Alberta as well. So that is the problem. Like, yes, you have freedom of speech, but there is a responsibility that is bigger than freedom of speech, and you have to be mindful of what you are saying, to who you are saying. So that's why I feel that the Satluj film is a propaganda. And it should, and I also feel like once it was released, it should not have been taken back. Like, I think that gave it more fuel, and that was really not needed if it was released. And in fact, I have also tweeted it multiple times. It was good that it is released. Now people are searching actually what happened in Punjab, how many people died, who was responsible for it. So it, in a way, it backfired. But having said that, I think I feel it's a propaganda, and it's a big responsibility when you are showing something, because visual memory is your strongest memory. When you see something, you remember it. So they should have been mindful when they were producing this movie. And another big problem that I think, I have not seen the movie, by the way. Another big problem with the movie is the scene that I saw where they are showing the killing of the Punjab Chief Minister Bayan Singh. And in the background, if you hear, they are playing a Sikh verse from Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and which is not right. So what they are saying is that whatever, like people who killed Bayan Singh, they were maybe, in their mind at least, as if they were serving the Sikh religion, which is not true. Sikhism is not about killing innocents or killing people without any reason. So that movie is wrong on so many levels, and it should not have been released. But if it was released, it should not have been taken off. I don't believe that freedom of speech is an absolute right. There are boundaries that everybody should follow, and we should be mindful of who we are speaking to, who are the audience of the movie.
So, Ruchiji, you have lived in Canada for many years and you have closely followed the Khalistan issue. So, what is the ground reality today in Canada? So, has the atmosphere within the Indo-Canadian community changed over the last few years, especially after Trudeau? Trudeau government went out, and after Trudeau actually basically was replaced by the current Canadian Prime Minister, because during Trudeau's tenure, so we could see basically a kind of a significant support from the establishment. There was, at least from Trudeau, to the Khalistani extremist movement. So, how do you see, if you could, decode for our viewers, what is the ground level situation in Canada now?
Well, I don't think that the issue was just with Trudeau. Like, I think the Khalistani problem in Canada is at least 40 years old, right from the Air India bombing. The bombing was, there were so many signals and so many warnings, clear warnings at that time. Just to let you know, Arunji, that time the Air India flight was a weekly flight, and they knew the weekend that the terrorists were targeting the flight, and still they could not stop it. So the problem is not just with Trudeau. It is like the problem is at least 50 years old in Canada, especially. And the ground reality, yes, with Mark Carney, things have started to change, but it's like a big establishment that they have built over so many years. They have infiltrated pretty much all our systems. They are, you name it and you will find a Khalistani there. You name an agency and so many politicians, they affiliate to Khalistan. They are Khalistani sympathizers. They are pro Khalistan. So it is, they have built this system for 50 years or probably more than that. So the ground reality is not good. It is very, very bad. And y- the people who came from India, they were like radical, or they were supporting Khalistan. But the second generation and the third generation and maybe the fourth, they are even more radical. So the situation on the ground is not good. Yes, it may appear on the, especially like how Mark Carney is, like I have full confidence in him, and I honestly like how he's leading the country, especially when it comes to Khalistan extremism and terrorism. And I think that Stephen Harper is one of his chief advisor. So one of his key advisor, not chief may not be the right word, but one of his key advisors. So I think he gets that understanding, and he's also he's traveled the world, and he's traveled to India as well a few times, I believe. I think two or three times. Not when he traveled to India as a prime minister, but before that also I think he has traveled. I remember watching an interview of him, and he mentioning that he has traveled to India. So he has that understanding. But to dismantle this whole system, it won't be easy, and things are not as good as they may sound. Like, okay, we may get a trade deal, but still, what do you do with these people who live in the community? You know how high the crime rate is. You saw what happened with Operation Hardball. like Niger was, we have been saying it ever since more than since 3 years since he was killed, that it's a gang related violence. But you see what happened in our parliament. He was given a moment of silence. We had petitions, we had motions, we had politicians across the party, be it liberal, be it conservative, be it NDP. He was made from a terrorist and a gangster to Shahid Bhai Hardeep Singh Nijjar. So that is Canada for you. And that is what every Indian should remember. It's not, we live here and we face these people every day. Speaking against Khalistan comes at a huge, huge cost. The list is rather long. Tara Singh here, he died. He died for nothing because people who were charged for Air India bombing, they just slipped away. And like, only you see, we hear only four names, but can you believe only four people can bring down a plane filled with 329 people? No. So that is the reality of Canada. And the list I was talking about, we have Balraj Deol, we have Ujjal Dosanjh, Gurucharan Rampuri, some of the latest names like Rishi Nagar, journalists who talk about the Khalistan issue, Terry Molesky, Kim Bolan. And so even like I face a lot of threats, I face a lot of issue on a day-to-day basis. I have to take care of my security, I have to take care of my family. And because my family comes from a Sikh background, they are like always very, very scared and protected of me, protective towards me, of what I speak and do. So situation is not good. And like I said, they have infiltrated pretty much all our systems, and they are more radical than the people who came here. And there is it's no it's there is no, I don't think neither the Canadian government and unfortunately nor the Indian government is doing anything about this radicalization that is happening in the community. And it is done through religious forums, through political forums, because again, they are told only one side of the story, and they are
Ruchi,
fed that.
yeah,
Yes.
please go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just saying, and they are fed that side of the narrative, like, for example, the movie Sutlej, and they are not told what happened, what the Khalistanis did, what the people of Punjab did. And they portrayed as if like Sikhs are the most oppressed or persecuted community in India. And I know that is not true. You know that is not true. But these people who are living here and who have not even traveled once to India, they are just constantly fed this narrative again and again and again. And what do you get out of it? You get out of it a radical and very indoctrinated, people. And unfortunately, that's the reality, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's doing anything about it. Neither the Canadian government or the Indian government.
So, Ruchi ji, as you mentioned that you also face, a lot of threats and there is, a pushback from the Khalistani extremists against anybody who speaks against Khalistani movement. I won't say movement actually, basically, it is not a movement, but against this Khalistani terrorists. So that brings us to the question of, because I saw on your X timeline, so you had mentioned about Nancy Grewal and the killing of Nancy Grewal, which happened a few months ago, who was an Indo-Canadian influencer who had been critical of the Khalistan movement. So it has actually raised serious concerns about freedom of expression in Canada. So has this incident created a climate of fear among those who openly oppose Khalistani extremism?
See, Arunji, the fear has not gone anywhere. The fear was there, the fear is still there. Nancy was a Sikh woman, by the way. Yes, she was Indo-Canadian, she was Sikh woman, and she was openly talking about Khalistan, and she had 40 death threats against her, and she'd approached police so many times. What happened? So what has changed in 40 years? 40 years ago, we had so many warnings, we couldn't stop the bombing. And here we have this woman who's been going to the police, and who's been going to the police like so many times, and she had so many conversations with the police, but eventually the killers got to her. And the media is completely silenced. She interviewed with CBC before her death, like couple of days before her death, and they did not air that interview. There could be multiple official reasons why they did not, but look at what happened. Like, I am not part of CBC, and I know like decision making is a very complex process in these media houses. So I don't know what made them not publish that interview as soon as it was kind of recorded. Maybe she would have got some help, maybe people would have seen her, and but they that did not happen. I don't want to blame that they did not do it, but that did not happen. As a consequence, the people didn't know about it, and the killers got to her on March 3rd, and we are today is July, right? We are
The
mid of
July
July
17th,
almost.
we are recording it.
Yeah, we are recording, and what nothing, not a stone has moved in her case. And surprisingly, when before, so her house, somebody tried to burn her house in the November of last year, but she like nothing happened, thankfully, probably because it was cold outside. It's very cold here. It gets really, really cold here in Canada. So that saved her. And I saw one video of her. She had cameras like inside of her house. That is how real threat to her life were, like she was not bothered about her own privacy, but she had installed cameras inside of her house. So anyways, I was just saying that she recorded a video, and where she's talking about couple of people, and then she's saying that, oh, these people are involved in crime, and she's pointing out to previous crimes that these people have done, and she's also pointing out to this main person's son, who has been caught in different crimes here in Canada, in Windsor, which is like one end of Ontario, if I may say. And then I after her death, she recorded this video. Poor thing, she recorded this video especially in English so that somebody could, reach out to her for help. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. And then after she died, I saw a video that her mother did, and she's naming few people like Avtar Singh Kunar and Birinder Shokar and Harpinder. And I did some research, so I was able to relate basically the names that she's not taking and the names that her mother is taking. They are related because the crimes that she's talking about, they are like registered crime, and you can, do a search and you can find out. And Avtar Kunar was questioned for Air India bombing as well. And there are photos on his social media where he's gone to Pakistan with and he's part of ISYF, which is International Sikh Youth Federation, which is a banned organization. So again, nothing has changed here, Arunji, unfortunately. And I don't know what we need to do or what the government needs to do to change things. So the threat is real. People's life is at risk. And they also, like what I was telling you earlier, they also come to you. They come through law as well. They litigate you. Like if you say something, they have a big army of advocates, and they come after you that ways too. They have all the means, but yeah, there's no stopping for them.
So, Ruchi ji, I just want to bring in another question, but it's largely, we see a lot of pro-Khalistan rallies and so-called referendums in Canada, which often create an impression that the movement enjoys widespread support. So, how accurate actually is that perception if you look at the overall Indo-Canadian community? And how influential are these groups within the wider Sikh community? So, is the larger Sikh community a significant portion is radicalized, or is it only you know, a limited part of the community which is being radicalized? And as you mentioned, nothing has changed. So, how the Indo-Canadian community overall is responding to this situation?
So, a lot of questions in one question, Arunji. Referendums, yes, they do these referendums, and I think referendums is just like a data collection exercise that they do. They collect the data for the people who come, and they use it, misuse it. I don't know what they do with it. But as far as the support is concerned, there is not a widespread support, because even if you look at the numbers, like I think Canada has the largest Sikh population, diaspora outside, like largest Sikh population outside of India is in Canada. And I think the number is somewhere around 800,000 or maybe close to 900,000. But if you look at the referendums, they claim who nobody is counting because it's not a regulated process. But even if you look at their claims, they are not even reaching out to 1% or 2% of the people. So that is the reality. Having said that, the radicalization is pretty high, I think. And yeah, in the larger Sikh community, they are not how do I say it? Uh, not everybody is Khalistani, but I think that number is, I used to think that number is small, but I feel that maybe that number is not that small. Now that I research more, I talk to more people, especially, and you will notice that these numbers are concentrated more in like Surrey, BC, or Brampton in Ontario. The number is significantly growing in Alberta as well, and I hear Saskatchewan as well. So it's coming up. So I would say I used to think that it's a very low number, but the number is I think it's growing, and that should be concerning for everyone. As far as the impact that they have on the electoral politics here in Canada, yes, we saw the time of Justin Trudeau, we saw Jagmeet Singh. But I think thanks to social media now, people are talking about the reality of the Khalistan movement. So an average Canadian is also kind of learning all that, and they are seeing these politicians from that angle as well. And you would, I don't know if you know, but last election, like Justin Trudeau had to anyways, resign. Jagmeet Singh lost his seat. And even the conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, he started off well, I believe. I was also trying to run for his party. I ran nomination, by the way. And I was cornered by Khalistanis. We can talk about that as well if you want. But he completely changed path, and I know that he is surrounded by Khalistanis and he listens to them, unfortunately or fortunately. And look what happened. He had a 20-point lead and he lost the election. He lost his seat, and the chances of him coming back are like really rare, because coming back to my earlier point, Mark Carney is showing very good leadership when it comes to pushing off these Khalistanis, and he's showing that will, he's showing that strength, and like the Indo-Canadian community is appreciative of that. They see that, and probably they saw that also before the elections, that's why in spite of that much and like right before, couple of weeks before the elections, the polls started dropping for Pierre Poilievre, actually, because I was so involved, so I know all that. But yeah, the radicalization is growing. It's not very low, but at the same time, these referendums, I don't think it brings a lot of people. But the radicalization is still there. They are two separate things, if I may say, and they should be looked at separately as well. Some
Guruji, tell
even
us something about your experience, like how Khalistanis, came after you when you were running for, uh, when you were planning to contest the polls and when you were running to this thing. And you can also explain a little bit about the process, basically, that happened
Yes.
there, about the
So yes,
primary.
let
Yeah.
me explain the process a little bit. So here, uh, uh, at least that is the process, and political parties, its politics is pretty much works mainly like in a similar way everywhere. However, here we have a process, and let's say they try to follow that process as well. The process is basically, if I'm a Canadian, then I can run nomination, which mean that I can, do my paperwork and tell a party that I want to be your candidate. And then and here the consequences are called a riding. And for example, from my riding, there could be three people who are six people or whatever who will say, oh, I also want to be a conservative candidate. So everybody will fill paperwork, we'll sign up members. It is same for all the parties. We'll sign up members, and then there will be like a day, and out of those hopefuls, five or six or whatever, the party will choose, party will choose two, three, whatever, and then they'll pick a day, and then the voting will happen. So the members that I have signed up, they will come and they will vote for me, and whosoever, it's a rank ballot, whosoever gets the maximum number of vote, for simplicity, will be the candidate for that particular riding, and then you get into the election whenever that happens. But what these Khalistanis do, they manipulate these nomination elections. So they will, of course, they will stand their candidate, and they'll stand their candidate across the party, because the curse of Khalistan is on all the parties that we have here in Canada, and they will sign up members. One catch that we have here is that you don't have to be a citizen to be a member, which is very, very wrong. You cannot vote in the final election, but you can still hold membership of a party, and you can vote in the nomination election, which I believe is not right. I have friends who think that that's okay. I was talking to a friend of mine, and her mother is from Ireland. She's like, oh, she likes to be a member of a party because then she can participate. You should not, she should be allowed to vote. And then I told her the other side, but I couldn't convince her. She said, no, 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 I think we should have. So this idea is not just coming from, of course, Khalistanis want to participate in these election and get the membership even if they are not citizens, but I hear some like non like regular Canadians also have that feeling. But anyway, so that's how they will sign up their members, and then they will vote in bulk, and they will ensure that their candidate wins, and then there you go, you have a Khalistani in. Whosoever wins, a Khalistani is going to be an MP. So yes, I decided to run nomination from the Conservative Party. I when we came to Canada as a family, we migrated as a family here, and we had never heard about this Khalistan issue back home. Even though we I come from a background that I should have, but we never how Indian families are. We try to protect our kids and share information on a need to know basis. We can debate that also, but yes, that was my state of knowledge about the Khalistan issue. And when I came here, I was shocked to see their presence. I was shocked to see their rallies, and I saw what happened in the farmer protest in India, how it was, direct, you know, engineered from Canada and even supported. I know there was money people were giving to different religious institutions and community organizations to be taken to India for farmer protest. So it was a like a proper support from Canada going into India. And I was like, it I thought like, why is why is Canada interfering in something that is happening in India? It is not right. And I thought, okay, I am educated. I come from a good background. I work as a management consultant. I've been working for more than 2 decades now. So I thought, look, I have the credentials, I have the energy, I have the will. So, and the process seems pretty easy. So I can also run for a nomination. And I signed up, and I was threatened throughout. I was labeled as an Indian agent, anti-Sikh, and all those things. And even so the paperwork that you have to file for your party, it's, as you can imagine, it's a very big form, almost 20-30 pages. They ask a lot of subjective questions. So my application, I was even asked, I'll not say who said that, but somebody from the Conservative Party called me and asked me to pull my application, to withdraw my application. And they said they have found something on me. I said, tell me, what have you found? Oh, we cannot share that. You please withdraw your application. I said, I'm not going to withdraw my application because I know I have not said or done anything wrong. If you want to reject it, that's your call. Feel free to do that. You can reject my application, but I'm not going to withdraw my application. Anyways, I did not withdraw my application, and I did not, they had nothing on me, so they had to clear my application. I was also interviewed for to be a potential, at least to be on the ballot, to be a potential candidate. And then there were two more candidates who were interviewed from my riding as well. Then nothing happened actually after that. Technically, we should have heard back from the party. Out of these three, they could have selected two or maybe all the three, put us on ballot, but we kept on waiting and waiting, and just by the process, we should have heard back from them within 3 to 4 days. But I think we got an email after probably 1 week, 4 days, 1 week, 3 days, something like that, saying that my application has been put down, and so some committee within the party has decided to pick one of the three candidates without any election. So that's what happened throughout my nomination. They came after me, threatened me. You can see from my social media as well, and I keep getting calls and messages. I sometimes share, I avoid sharing all those things, but sometimes I share that. But whatever is there on the social media, you can see. So, like I said, the reality on the ground is very poor, and I hope it changes.
That brings us to our, kind of a last question that, while India and Canada are trying to rebuild the ties, so do you think the Canadian establishment now sees Khalistani extremism as a challenge to Canada's own security and
They
social
do.
cohesion? So, and rather than just an issue of relationship with India?
They do. If you, so the bombing for like the Air India bombing, it happened almost 41 years ago, and it took the CSIS, which is our like equivalent of a RAW in India. It took them 41 years to like put it officially, and they did not put it on Twitter. They just posted it on Facebook, uh, saying that Canadian Khalistanis were behind this bombing. So what does that do? So it leaves a big vacuum for all these conspiracy theories to be developed and to be propagated, and to same lies and conspiracy theories are used to radicalize and indoctrinate our next generation, our youth, and anybody else. So if you ask me, I will be blunt with you, Arunji. Maybe they are thinking that trade and Khalistan can go at the same time because, yes, CSIS has said it, but moving things on the ground will take time, and I hope they move. But I am optimistic, but I also know at the same time that it's a long and a very steep road, a very steep hill that needs to be climbed. uh, and and I also feel it's not just the government that is can do something. The community has to step up. More people have to come up and start speaking about this Frankenstein monster that has been developed for more than half a decade in Canada now. So, sorry, half a century in Canada now. So, that is what we need to do. The government needs to protect people. For example, if somebody is speaking against Khalistan, they should, it's freedom of speech. Yes, it's not absolute, but if somebody is raising these alarms and somebody is sharing, they should be, they, like for example, Nancy, she should have been given protection. Whatever she says, like I never, I didn't used to follow her. Maybe I might have seen one video or two here or there, but I learned more about her after she died, unfortunately. That should not have happened to anybody. uh, so that's what we need to do. Like the government has a lot of work to do, and I think the community has twice or thrice the work that needs to be done, because these people, they live with us, they live in the same communities as we do, and they have been brainwashed, they have been radicalized. And like I said, look at the crime, the growing crime that we have in Canada, extortion, and so many cases are keep come up. Like there is something that needs to be investigated further. Why do we have a certain section of society that is more involved in crime as compared to another section of society? So that needs some introspection, that needs a lot of work, policies and protection at the same time.
So thank you, Ruchi ji, for decoding all these issues, and we hope to host you back soon again on another podcast soon. And thank you, viewers, for watching. We'll be back soon with another conversation. And the detailed bio of Ruchi Wali ji will be in the description box, along with the no links of her social media platforms, as well as one of the recent articles which she has penned for the Milli Chronicle. It's a must-read article, and thank you, Ruchi ji, for taking out time from your busy schedule and sharing your thoughts
Absolutely.
with us. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.